Oxford from the inside. The good, the bad, but always the truth.
Hey guys, welcome to Oxford from the Inside, the good, the bad, but always the truth. Today we're joined with Alice and Frankie. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Alice. I'm going to be a third-year law student at Trinity College with Siam.
Hi, I'm Frankie. I'm going to be a second year PPE student also at Trinity College with Siam and Alice.
Nice. So today we're going to be talking about what is the Oxford Union. So to start off, Frankie, what is the Oxford Union? Do you want to give us a rundown of the mission statement and the history?
I believe actually Alice was going to talk about this first. Sorry.
Yes, yes, that is true. I messed that up, didn't I? Alice, would you like to start? Oh, what a great. Oh, that's never happened before. Damn. First one for everything. Right,
That's all right. That's all right. We'll go strong from here.
Anyways, Alice, would you like to. What is the Oxford Union?
Right, okay. The Oxford Union is the largest and most prestigious student society in the world. It was once described by Harold Macmillan as the last bastion of free speech in the Western world. We were founded in 1923. We have hosted the likes of U.S. presidents Reagan, Nixon, Carter, Secretary John Kerry, Professor Stephen Hawking, Mother Teresa, and Sir Elton John, to name but a few.
Damn. So was that like the summary on like the website? Or
that is something like that.
Something like that. So to you guys, what has been the Oxford Union for you and like for current students now? Frankie, if you want to start.
Sure. So for me, it's been a chance to get involved with some amazing events. They host some fantastic speakers. When I was in Michaelmas, something I remember vividly is they hosted Richard Thaler. And as a good PPE student, Richard Thaler was a little hero of mine when I wrote my personal statement when I applied to Oxford. So it was great to go along and listen to him talk. It was just a great experience. And it really showed, like, when done right, the union can host some amazing people, give some amazing talks, have some amazing debates. The no confidence debate at the start of Michaelmas term was always a great one, especially if you're a politics lover like I am. That's always really fun. The motion being this House has no confidence in Her Majesty's government. It's always held at the beginning of every Michaelmas term. It's also been a chance for me to meet some great people and make some amazing friends, some friends that I continue to carry through Oxford and hopefully will carry through the rest of my life. Everyone there is really friendly, and it's a great thing to get involved with, either just as going to events or in a greater fashion.
Nice. And Alice, what about for you? What have you taken from the Oxford Union?
So I first started getting involved in the union in the very beginning of my first term. And I didn't know that much about it in the first place, but I just knew that we hosted a lot of interesting speakers and interesting debates. And coming from the US, it wasn't something that we had in my high school. And I was like, this is a great opportunity. Oxford is a great platform. Let's just see what it's like. And I just remember we had speakers like Alexa Chung. We also had really interesting people like Stormy Daniels come speak. And I just thought I really enjoyed the talks. So I decided to join.
Nice. Yeah, no, I've always gone to a few of the debates and the talks. I think the debates are. I know I've always been a fan of like the idea of like the Greek and Roman times and the big debates and talking and how, yeah, like people would like gather together to watch one speaker, and it did have that kind of like nostalgic feel to it for sure. So I mean, the union's quite a big society, if you can call it society. What are all, like, could we go for a rundown of all the things that you can do if you're a member, a part of the Oxford Union?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. So if you're a member of the Oxford Union, you can use the bar and the library. So the union has its own library. In fact, it has two libraries. One is a more social one where you sort of sit and it's not strict silence. And the other one is a more of a traditional strict Oxford library. But they're both very pretty. They're both definitely worth going to work in. It's nice to have that space. There's a bar that serves drinks, obviously, coffees, cakes. There's a discount for members. You can also use it if you're a non-member, but you have to go with a member. And that's a really great place to go in Oxford. They also serve special debate cocktails at the end of every debate. And those are always at least interesting, not necessarily always delicious, but they are always interesting. You can also attend, obviously, speaker events and debates. There are like 5 to 7 a week during term time. There are always something on. There's everything from sports stars to actors to like obviously high profile politicians. Everyone comes along. So, there's always something for you, regardless of whether you're a politics nerd like me or you like something else. There's also a chance to ballot to go for a meet and greet, which is where you get to spend a half an hour, sort of group of 12 of you with the speaker that you balloted to go and see, which is also obviously can be a great opportunity to meet someone who you consider the hero. There's also competitive debating to get involved in if that's what you like. Oxford Union is the centre of competitive debating at Oxford. There are tryouts at the beginning of every term. There's also beginners debating on a Sunday where anyone can go along regardless of skill level. I myself have been, as I think Siam has at least once, and you don't need any previous skill level, otherwise I would have been kicked out a long time ago. So it was good. It's good to have that opportunity as well. Alice, have I missed anything?
Should I talk about governance and the structure?
Oh, of course. Should I talk about that, Siam?
Sam, can't really hear you at the moment.
Yeah, you cut out.
Sorry about that. We've had a few technical difficulties. So as I was saying, am I right in saying that a group of members can visit one of the speakers and talk to them? Is that what you said, Frankie?
Yeah, so each speaker, not debate speakers, but individual speakers, there's a thing called a meet and greet where members ballot for places. And if you get a place, then there's a little sort of quite intimate 12-person gathering, 12 to 20-person gathering in an upstairs room where you just get to meet and chat with them. So when, in my term, I've seen Jerome Flynn, who is, he played Bronn in Game of Thrones. We did a little meet and greet with him, which was fun.
Whoa, I did not know that. I need to be on this ballot. Damn, that's so cool.
It's not very well known. But it is.
Yeah, on the
Facebook
page for each event, I think you have in the description box, there is a little link to the form where you can fill out to ballot, just in case.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
And where can you find that? Where is that?
So
on Facebook or?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. So the Oxford Union has a page and it posts all the events, and on each event in the description box, there's the link to ballot.
Nice, damn. Oh, that's useful information for me at least, and probably definitely for all future members. And yeah, there is I think so. Yeah, the debating and the speaking. I guess like in the terms of the history, the union started off as a debating society. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was founded. I believe it was founded among others by Gladstone, the famous Liberal Prime Minister and Minister, as a way for students to debate. I think it was at the time religious issues because the university was refusing to host a debate about Catholic emancipation, but I could be wrong. I don't know my history that well. But it's always been a debating society. That's why the debating chamber that we talk about is the most prominent part of the Oxford Union. Is why it's what it's remembered for, is because that's what's so impressive about it, and that's where its roots are.
Yeah, and a point to note is that we are not technically affiliated with Oxford University because of this point, because we emphasize free speech and to be able to discuss whatever the members and students want to discuss.
So just adding on to this idea about free speech. So I know that there's in the past been some controversy with some of the speakers that the union have invited to. So do you know roughly where like the union stands with it when it's deciding what speakers that should be allowed to come and speak?
Go on, Alice.
Well, I would say there isn't exactly a codified or formal process in terms of screening which speaker is appropriate, because it's very much at the discretion of the committee members. And it's decided during the vacation when committee members work on sending out invites. But obviously, I think people like the president, librarian, like they have the last say on who gets invited and whether it's appropriate. But still, it's very much at people's discretion. Right, Frankie?
Yeah, there are some hard fast rules which you would expect, like no ex-criminals. Those aren't, so people who've been convicted aren't allowed to become the union. No one who's got pending allegations against them, which obviously is a good thing. But obviously, we'd also hope for some slightly stricter standards. But Alice is right; it typically comes down to the president. So like they've had some controversial speakers, like Steve Bannon came, and that was a very controversial speaker in which people thought, oh, is this appropriate? Should we platforming someone like this? But that's more of a debate rather than like a hard and fast rule about the union, which varies from term to term and from committee to committee. Speaking of committee, we should probably go through the structure of the union so people understand a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, would you either of you like to walk us through how the union's structured, for sure?
I'm happy to.
Go for it, Frankie.
Yeah. Sure. So it's sort of a hierarchy system. So at the top of the hierarchy, you have the president of the Oxford Union. President makes all the formal decisions. To quote Jimmy Carter, the buck stops with him. Not Jimmy Carter, a US president. The buck stops with him. No one gets or her. No one gets. They get the final say on everything. They invite the speakers. They set the mission statement. He'd lead the debates, well, chair the debates, I suppose you'd probably call it. Either side of the president, you've got the treasurer in charge of the union's finances. It's an elected position, as is the president, set by a student. Each of them serve 1 term. You've also got the librarian, or what you might refer to as a vice president. So someone who serves in the capacity is just aiding the president in running the union. They host smaller interviews with speakers. So if there's a less well-known speaker, the librarian might do it. And they also technically manage the library. You've also got the secretary, who minutes all of the debates and the meetings of all the committees, and is also considered an officer, and again is elected for 1 term. Below them, you've got the standing committee, which is a group of 7 people plus the officers and some adult members of staff who help run the union, and they are the governing body. So they pass all the rules changes, they make decisions, they discuss controversies, etc. Again, they're elected for a term. It's mainly comprised of students, both the elected members of the standing committee and the officers. And then below them, you have a plethora of other committees. So you have the Access Committee, which is a combination of people appointed to make sure the union maintains its commitment to access and remains friendly and accessible to all groups. You've also got the Secretaries Committee, which is the only elected committee at this level. And that committee basically is responsible for the day-to-day running of the union. So they work events, they set up stages, they move chairs, they bring speakers, they bring speakers from the train station to the union. They just make sure everything runs smoothly, basically. And that's also an elected position, again elected for 1 term, entirely comprised of students. You've also got some other people dotted around. So you've got what's called the chair of consultative committee, which their job is to oversee the secretaries committee. They run the union events, they make sure everything goes smoothly. You've got people like the chief of staff, again all student positions, but these are appointed, and they do what the president asks them to do. So they help run things, they make sure everything goes smoothly. Again, you're seeing a theme here, right? Again, the union basically operates as the president wants it to. The president invites speakers, the president sets the debates, etc., etc. Committee gets input, but a lot of it is down to the president, which is why the role is so well known and well regarded.
Yeah, usually someone who gets elected president has to serve 1 term as president-elect to learn the ropes, and then when they actually serve as president, typically they will rusticate because it is essentially a full-time job. And
Exactly.
yeah.
And rusticating means, if anyone doesn't know, is when to rusticate means you take a year out of uni. So say if I'm in the middle of my 2nd year and for whatever reason I want to rusticate, whether it's being president of the union or something else, I will take a year out. Well, college has to approve, and if they approve, I take a year out and then come back the next year just where I left off. And as you said, I think all presidents of the union rusticate when they become president. Because
it's actually become a more modern convention. It wasn't so when Macmillan, as you were talking about earlier, when he was president, he didn't have to do it, and when Heath was Oxford Union president, he didn't have to do it either. But in more modern times, the job has become a lot more. There's just a lot more work associated with it. You're more responsible for the running of the union. There's a lot more to do, and so rustication is viewed as a necessary thing because you wouldn't want to jeopardize your studies in the way that putting so much time into the union would lead to. So
yeah, and our budget has grown quite a lot, and the ways in which we host people, etc., it's a lot more of a full package than just when it was before.
Yeah, it's not a debate. It's not just a debate every Thursday where some students come along and argue with each other. There's a lot more to it now.
Yeah,
for sure. So there was just one thing I was a little bit confused with. So I think I have a rough understanding of what the president, treasurer, secretary, and librarian do. But between what do, in a day-to-day role, if you were part of the standing committee and the other committees, secretaries committee, and the other committees and roles beneath the top people, the president and the librarian secretary, what do you actually do?
Well, so to start from the very bottom, if you are secretaries committee or a variety of other appointed committee people such as access or logistics, for example, I say the bulk of your work will just be very physical, like you're lifting chairs, stacking chairs, setting up for events. I don't know, getting drinks, etc., or yeah, being a waiter essentially during socials. It is a good learning experience, and you do get to meet a lot of members, and it's quite interesting. But if you're a standing committee, I think your shifts will be like not so serious. We have once a week a standing committee meeting, lasts about an hour, to discuss like any order changes and bigger logistical issues around the union. Frankie, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so also if you're a standing committee member, you also have to chair the emergency debate, which is the debate held before the main debates on Thursdays. But yeah, Alice is right. So as member of Secretary's Committee, your job is just to do things that make the union run. So just to set up events, carry mics, walk speakers around, etc. And you do get to meet loads of speakers, and you do get to have a good time. It's not as miserable as it sounds, I promise. It is a lot of fun. And then standing committee, yeah, governing body, you have a meeting. You also have to chair emergency debates.
Interesting. Wow. So in terms of, because you both of you have a lot of experience with these committees, what would you say the advantages are of being getting involved in the union and the Secretary's Committee and Standing Committee? Starting with you, Frankie.
I think the primary advantage is meeting all these speakers that you get such an access to that you wouldn't necessarily get normally. Especially in debates, when if you're on Secretary's Committee, that means you work the debate, so you have to like set everything up, and you have to attend to the speakers and make sure they're okay. And just getting to have such like this intimate experience with them and talk to them and spend quite a lot of time with them is really interesting, and it's one of the best things about it. You also meet, I know it sounds cheesy and corny, but you meet loads of great people who are all really fun, and you make some really good friends, and you have this sort of bond over the union, which is really nice. It's a great way to meet people. But it's just more than anything, it's just fun. It's fun to see the inner workings of this institution that has gone on for so long and has this reputation that precedes it so greatly, and that's why it's so interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree with what Frankie has said, but also I think most of our events are posted on YouTube as well, and you can watch them. And before, I remember watching, I think they had an interview with the cast of Game of Thrones, and they had some really interesting debates. And I remember thinking, I love that. I love watching this. And when you actually get involved on committee and get elected during the back days, you get to put forth proposals of what debate motions you want, which speakers you want to invite, and actually working on it, even as a Saki, setting up chairs and seeing something that you create in your mind come to fruition is very rewarding, I think, especially if it's a topic and issue that you're really passionate about personally.
Yeah, Alice is so right. Being on committee during the vacation, which is something that I completely forgot, and getting to have that input with the way the union run and the events is really, really fun.
Wow, yeah. It sounds all really really fulfilling. Is there any room for gaining experience for your CV or future jobs? Do you do anything that would be useful in terms of future jobs? Did you guys say?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I think in general, if you're a Seki, in terms of what is gained through CV, it's event planning for sure, logistics, and just time management. Also a lot of people skills, because you do have to interact with all kinds of different people, be professional, and be there for them. In terms of standing committee and onwards, I think you gain even more experience in terms, for example, managing quite a large budget and managing people. Yeah, I think there's a lot more, but it depends on what your mindset is going in and what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Alice was saying. I think it's more about the soft skills, and in that way, it's similar to a lot of Oxford University societies in the sense that you just develop great people skills. You have this confidence to talk to people that, and it's a really easy way to develop that, because you are forced to interact with so many different people all the time. And then obviously managing events and being a part of such a large institution is a great thing as well. Working in the team is a really essential part of it. So all of those things look really good on the CV. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many roles where you can get such a vast amount of experience in social skills and event planning, taking minutes if you're the secretary. I think especially event planning is quite a hard job to get into afterwards, and there's not much. It's hard to get experience beforehand. So yeah, it sounds, even from the Seki's committee, the start, sounds very, very useful and rewarding as well, talking to speakers directly from the bottom up, for sure. So that's a lot about the governance. In terms of the social side, because I've heard that there's balls that the union host, and quite like debating competitions. Do you guys want to give us a rundown of what things the union offer in terms of like a social side? Frankie, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. So the union runs a ball every term. During coronavirus, maybe less so. I'm not sure what the plannings are going to be. But normally, the union runs a ball every term. It's black tie. It's a really great opportunity. I went during Michaelmas, which was my first time in Oxford, and it was a fantastic experience. It's an amazing time. Normally, it's this great spectacle. Tickets they are expensive, but they aren't as expensive as a regular Oxford ball.
Yeah, true. Sorry, we lost you there for a second, Frankie. If you want to carry on from what you were saying.
Yeah, of course. So there's balls, and then the union also runs some socials. There have been a variety of different socials that are themed after different sort of times in the year. I think there's a Halloween one or a Valentine's one every now and then. But it really depends, like whether or not they've been organised and whether or not the union committee thinks people will go to them. But there's always a ball, and there are occasionally socials. And then there's also the competitive debating side, the chance to try out and then compete for Oxford University in different debating competitions, and possibly even to help run debating competitions for other students, at other universities, or for sixth form students. So all in all, it's just a great opportunity to get involved with other stuff too. Alice, did I miss anything? Do you think anything you want to add?
No, I think that was quite good. Yeah, you got it.
I think for me, I really find the beginners debating quite exciting, and I'm really using it as a way to improve my public speaking, and I think anyone definitely can. And not just like public speaking, but public speaking and also trying to produce sound arguments like the whole time. It's just a very good exercise, and if I was able to articulate that skill, it's very far from the skill at the moment. But if I was able to like build on that skill, it's a very useful tool to have in the future. And I think it's great that the union provides this service, like beginners debating, for anyone who has had no debating. And my experience is that they walked us through everything about British parliamentary debating and how the structure works and what we're expected. And we didn't even have to participate the first time. We could just watch. So yeah, anyone watching, they think that debating might be something they want to give a try, they definitely should try that out.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
One thing I actually wanted to add, I think recently the union has done a lot more work in terms of hosting debating workshops to make debating more accessible. For example, I think we have women's debating workshops and socials for that, and I think they were proposing to have workshops and socials for ESL speakers as well. And I think I would just encourage everybody to come. I think especially like BP can be quite daunting for someone who's not from the UK, who didn't go to schools that offer the kind of training, but it's like worthwhile to come and just see what it's about. Yeah.
I've heard that the union does like access stuff. Is that true, or have I misheard that?
Yeah, we do have a lot of initiatives for access. For example, we have an access committee, and they're run on like appointed people by the president. And there is international officer that is about outreach for internationals to join the union. There's Frankie, help me out here. Who are the access members?
So there's Black and minority ethnic groups officer. There's a social class officer. That's not what they're called, but that's the role they fulfill, is making unions accessible for those from socioeconomic officer. That's what they're called. Sorry. I'm definitely forgetting other officers, but yes, there was an access committee. There's a junior and senior access officer as well. Yeah, exactly. And there's access membership, and obviously the union at the moment is going through a period of reflection about its policy towards access and disadvantaged groups in society. And although there is so much more work that needs to be done, the union is currently working on improving itself and bettering itself in the future, which is, it's good that it's definitely thinking about how it can improve and what can be made better about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the most important thing is, because each committee and most people serve for only one term, it's really important to not have a very short like institutional memory, and to carry on initiatives from before, and to make sure that like substantive change can be made throughout like years afterwards.
Exactly.
Wow. So a lot of similar messages for access and outreach that Oxford is facing as well, in the fact that it's very much trying its absolute best and making improvement, but still lots of room for improvement as well. So is the role of the officers to increase diversity in the union governance, basically?
Well, the access officers, or
Yeah, the access officers, yeah.
yeah, sorry. So the access officers have a broad remit to discuss anything that they think is relevant to a access policy in the union. It's both to do with diversity, it's to do with making sure the union remains an accessible place for a variety of different people from different backgrounds and from different situations. It's not any one thing. Certainly, you could interpret that one of their roles would be to encourage a diversity with committee and with speakers and making sure that everyone feels represented, which is so important. But they have a lot of other things that they can tackle as well if they want to. Things like making sure that different groups feel like they can easily access the union. The union isn't exclusive, that they don't feel that any particular group is feels like they can't participate properly within the Oxford Union, because the union should be a place that everyone can get involved in regardless of background.
Nice. Yeah, wow, that sounds like a very rewarding role for people to get involved in, if they weren't as interested in the other sides of the union. There's lots of room to do good as a access officer. So coming towards the end now, I want to ask you both, are there any events or anecdotes that you have of things that you've enjoyed from being a part of the union? I'll go with Alice first.
Let me see.
Or Frankie has one on mine. Either way.
I
have.
Yeah.
Go on, go on.
Like my favorite event, I think, in first year was definitely when the union hosted Stormy Daniels. I think it was just quite funny, and I just enjoyed just like listening to her. But Frankie, go ahead.
So when I was on committee, Mick Mulvaney, warehouse acting chief of staff, came to the union, and like a sort of not like a surprise visit, but in a visit that wasn't known about much in advance, because he just sort of was in Ireland and was like, right, I'm passing by London and Oxford, I can come. And I was like, right, okay. And it wasn't recorded because he didn't want any cameras on, but he was like, he just came to give a speech. And it was open to all members and everything. But it was just really fun. It was a really interesting experience. It was really cool. That was one of the things that sticks out most to me.
Wow.
Yeah, I do have an anecdote actually.
Go for it.
I do remember, I think, I can't remember which country, but I think we had a prime minister come speak, and I believe that there was some kind of miscommunication between committee and his team as to his motive, because he only specified that he would be flying over, and then we were notified at the very last minute that he was in a helicopter, not a plane, and he asked where to land, and I think in the end he had to land in Uni Park, so that was quite a fun experience.
That's fantastic. I did not know that.
That is amazing. Just landing in a helicopter in Uni Parks. Imagine if you want to run, just with like headphones, you can't hear the helicopter.
You look up and there's sort of like the helicopter's descending. Like, what's going on here?
They're waiting for you to move, and you're in the way. It's like when you're running on the roads, like crossing the road, and actually there's a car, and you're like, oh no, so it actually is a helicopter. So damn.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, so I think we've covered everything, but oh yes, the cost. Do you guys want to give us a rundown of the cost? And I know that there's the access officers have like, so there's a reduced cost for certain situations as well. So yes, if someone wants to give us a rundown of that. Alice?
I believe so. When you sign up, you pay an upfront fee. Frankie, is it 180? How much is it?
It's 250.
Oh, it's grown. It's 250 now.
I think I can't remember exactly. It's not a small amount of money. It's an upfront fee of a reasonable, quite a lot of money.
Yes, but it's lifetime membership, and if you sign up during Freshers Week, I think there's a discount. And then
there is.
You are asked to put in your information like banking, etc. Because there is a charge every year, but that's quite small. I think that's under £10, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's £9 a year, so that union can fund its term cards. Yeah.
Yes, but it's lifetime membership. You can come by at any time, even if you graduated, to use the premises or go to events.
Yeah, exactly. The union is always open to its lifetime members. In fact, there are regularly lifetime members in the bar or using the snooker room, which I forgot to mention earlier, that Alice pointed out. But there's a snooker room too. And coming to see speaker events, even lifetime members can come and see speakers still if there's someone on that you're particularly interested in. Because that's why the union is one of the reasons that it's good the union is separated from the universities, because you don't have to be at the university to be a member of the union. it's not a traditional student society, you can come back and use facilities even if you're not at the university.
But I imagine to join the union, you have to be a part of the university.
Not necessarily, no. So I'm quite
really?
you can
Yeah,
go to Brooks and you can still be a member here. We haven't.
But that isn't for life. That's only for your time at Brooks. Doesn't count. That's not life membership. That's the difference. Yeah. So I think to get life membership, you have to be. It's a really weird rule. You either have to be at the university or the spouse of somebody who's at the university.
Ah, okay.
So if you're married to someone who's a member of the union, you can get membership of the Oxford Union as well, I think.
Oh, okay. I guess that does make sense in a sort of way, maybe.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. There are loads of these sort of weird sort of traditions. Oh, Hall membership. There's also access membership for students from more disadvantaged backgrounds. So I know Crank scholars automatically qualify for access membership. I think it also applies to those on the full maintenance loan, and that comes with a hefty sort of subsidy on the upfront membership cost price.
Yeah, it is yeah, the membership's much cheaper if you, as you said, if you have access to the full maintenance loan, depending on your household income when it's means tested. Yeah, the union membership's much cheaper. I think we're coming to an end as Zoom is about to kick us off. But thanks guys for an amazing talk. It was very interesting. I know a lot. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know much about the union, and I feel like I know a bit more now. So, and I hope I'm sure a lot of prospective students listening to this will find it very useful. And thanks for the viewers for listening in, whether it's on the podcast or YouTube or IGTV. And yeah, thanks Alice, thanks Frankie, and we'll see you guys next time.